Hi, and welcome back to another video. So you might notice my eye look is a little crazy. I've got two different eye looks going on today. I created both with the palette that I'm going to build later in this video. But for now, I just kind of want to introduce what this video is all about. So today I'm going to be looking at all of my Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows. I had 5 ABH palettes at one point. I depotted all of them. I actually depotted like the majority of my eyeshadow palettes about a year ago, and now I use singles to continue to explore my eyeshadow collection, recreate palettes as they come out that look interesting to me, create new color stories depending on the season, all of that good stuff. So I was looking at all of my ABH singles from these different palettes, and I realized they are so similar. So I know that Norvina's kind of sister brand, I guess, to ABH has gotten a lot of slack for her palettes having a lot of repeat shades in them. But honestly, looking back at the original ABH palettes, like the 14 pan palettes with the soft velvet, they're really similar. There are a few pops of color, but this video is kind of all about looking at how similar these different palettes are, creating my own version of an ABH palette, just like a 14 pan palette, and then creating some eye looks with it. So if that sounds good to you, I hope that you keep watching. And with that, let's get into looking at these different ABH palettes. Okay, so I have all of the Anastasia depotted palettes laid out in their original order. I'm not 100% sure if this is the full original order. You'll see when we get into the shade comparisons, some of these bad boys are really similar, and I did not mark the backs, but I tried my best, and I'm pretty sure these are the original layouts. So first we have Sultry, then Riviera, then Soft Glam, then the Subculture palette, and lastly, the first original Norvina palette. So as you can see, each color story looks relatively different. But what we're gonna do is we're going to completely rearrange these by color family, and you're going to be able to see how freaking similar these different shades in each of these palettes really are. And when I depotted these palettes, I'm really glad I did. I mean, of course, I damaged some of the shadows, which sucks, but I'm really glad I did because I don't think I would have really had this revelation until I depotted them. So I'm gonna go ahead and start reorganizing by color family, and we'll speed this part up so that way you can kind of see what all of these look like. So I try to fit them at the top of the screen. I'm kind of running out of space, but even that you can see these are from 4 different palettes, and they all have this almost identical cream shade. Crazy. How many cream shades do you really need, So I'm gonna keep reorganizing, and I'll try to keep it on screen as much as possible. We've got the majority of the colorful shades done. Now this to me is where it starts to get really crazy. Let's go ahead and start, you know, putting out some of these neutrals. I just realized that by switching them around this way, you could see them on the screen a whole lot easier. I still have the same amount to sort as before, I just turned them all, but from here we'll keep on organizing. But even now, can you see this whole row comes from 5 different palettes? What? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's keep going. So this is all of those shadows rearranged. It doesn't quite work out as, you know, a perfect, you know, even Steven thing. So sorry about that. And I totally got pigment all over this white. Oh well. Can you see how freaking similar these shades are that were in different palettes originally? It is insane. I'm going to try to put these in a Z palette really fast, and I'll be back so that way we can do some comparison swatches and really see how different these actually look swatched out. Here they all are in the Z palettes. I had to move some stuff around because it couldn't fit quite the same number of shades as what we had laid out before. And I did rearrange some stuff just because I noticed like there were 2 rows of pinks that were kind of far away from each other. But yeah, here we are. Holy crap, I still can't get over how similar all of these different colors are from 5 different palettes. Let's think about this. Each ABH palette, full price originally, is like $40-something. So multiply that times 5 for these similar of shades. Guys, I have started to realize this as I did the same thing with my ColourPop palettes and took all of those out. Let me know down in the comments if you're interested in seeing a video like this for ColourPop. I have a ton of different ColourPop palettes that I would love to do this with. But yeah, every mainstream brand seems to have this same problem where they repeat these same filler shades right over here, but then throw in these different pops that make it look different, but at the end of the day, it's not. And this honestly is why I switched to buying indie shadows. Not only are indie shadows typically sold in singles, so that way you can just get what you need and what you don't already have, but a lot of the time they're better quality. The more time that I've spent with Anastasia Beverly Hills mattes in particular, the more I don't like them. They're really dry, they don't last well. Their shimmers are hit and miss. As we swatch some of these out, you'll see the quality just changes from palette to palette, even though the colors are exactly the same. So let's go ahead and start swatching some of these out. I'm thinking that we should start with this row of like the same brown. So let's go ahead and start with this guy. I can't even tell you what palette this is originally from. Not that it matters. It's just kind of, you know, a warm burgundy brown. And here we go. Nice shade, lots of pigment, great. Let's compare it to the one next to it. So if you really want to get technical, like this one's a little more brown, this one's a little more red, on your eyes, you cannot tell the difference. If you had one versus the other, you could come out with really similar looks and it would be no big deal. So let's try the next one. This one I can tell is going to be a little bit more red, but really similar. And look, the quality so different. I know for a fact that's definitely the one from the Soft Glam palette, because that one is super, super dry in comparison to the others. But look at those 3 shades. We've got one more that I can swatch, and then I'm gonna wash my fingers and we can swatch the rest. Oh my gosh, you guys. From different ABH palettes, almost the same exact color. I'm also really interested in swatching these shimmers, especially these two. To me, they look like almost the same exact color, but the texture is really different, and here they are on my fingers. So here's that first one, and here's that second one. You can see one way more vibrant than the other. They look so similar though. If you built up this first one, you'd be able to get a really similar look. Oh my gosh. Let's go ahead and swatch those other 3 right there. So we've got this one, and this one, which I think will look pretty different actually, but here we go. Yeah, wow. Different, you could argue, but you could also argue way too similar for comfort, because this brand is basically duping themselves with the same exact colors. These two actually really similar. This one's more glittery and shiny than this one, but still, oh my gosh. I don't know if you can tell, my arm is definitely starting to get kind of glittery, but let's go ahead and swatch these yellows because I'm so freaking curious. That one actually looks really nice, doesn't it? Oh wow, they look a little more different, but still, oh my gosh, so similar. So similar. If I had students turn in, like, you know, things that were this similar, I would wonder if they were copying each other. That's pretty freaking similar. So you can see again, minor differences. It's just enough for them to get away with putting these in different palettes. But man, I can't believe how similar these all are and that I got duped. I really spent a ton of money on these over the years for really similar shades. How many golds do you really need in your life, you know? These two look so freaking similar. Okay, we'll just do a few more just for funsies. You know what? Let's go ahead and swatch these bronzes here too. Okay. And this one. Here we go. Oh gosh, those are atrocious swatches. But here are all these shimmers. So similar. So similar. Okay, so I think the last ones that I want to swatch just for show are these creams, because there are so many creams. So we'll go ahead and swatch each of these out. And here we go. Oh my gosh, I can't get over it. They're just so similar. And here are the other two. Man, oh man. So this one's slightly deeper. This one's a little more pinky, a little lighter, a little more yellow, but all in all, pretty much the same. And we've got these two shimmers as well that are also really, you know, at the end of the day, pretty similar. One's a little bit lighter, one's a little bit more peachy. Let's swatch these two yellows next to that too. So there you go, all of these light shades. Now this is my jam. I love a really light, shiny lid color. So you can see I've dipped into these ones quite a bit because those are my favorite, but I didn't need all of them. I really didn't. So what I was thinking might be fun now is taking all of these ABH shadows, since I already have them, and making my own ABH collab palette. Now, they don't know they're collabing with me, but I know in my soul they're collabing with me. So I'm gonna pick out my favorite 14 shades. We're gonna go standard, you know, standard like ABH size palette before the Norvina spin-off brand. And yeah, we'll just, you know, pick out some shades, do a build your own palette. I love watching those, and hopefully you all can enjoy me choosing some of these shades out. But the first one that I'm really gravitating towards is this one. This is from the Subculture palette, and it, oh my gosh, I got my finger in the purple a little bit, but that's okay. It's so pretty. Oh, I love these like really shimmery like type of colors. Oh, that is just so visually satisfying to me. That is definitely going in my collab palette. The next shade that I know I want is this guy right here. It looks kind of just like a regular old silver, but it's got something a little different to it. It's like almost like a little, I don't know, like pinky. I don't know if you can really catch it on camera, but I'm telling you, in person, it looks more pink than it would appear. It, you know, it looks straight up silver, but it's a little different, and I really, really like this shade. And before I take it out, let me not forget, this one is from the Sultry palette. Next up, I know myself well enough to know this murky green must be mine. I freaking love colors like this one. I want one of these like light shimmery ones inside of my palette. This one is like one of my faves right now, but I don't think it'll 100% go with what we've got. So I'm gonna pick this one, which is from the Norvina palette, and it is gorgeous. Oh, look at that champagne, nice, beautiful highlight color. Another thing that I know I love in all palettes is a nice like murky yellow. And this one from the Subculture palette is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, I just got so much blue in it. You see that? But look at that. Murky yellow of my dreams. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and go with this really vivid bright gold from the Riviera palette. Now, the next one might seem random, but this pink from the Norvina palette, I love. Oh my gosh, it's just so shimmery. My camera isn't picking it up super well, but it's so shimmery. It's a much brighter pink than it looks on camera. I'm not quite sure how to get that to show up more, but I just really like this one for an all over the lid type of look. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and take one of these corals. I'm not quite sure which one. They're so similar. Let's see if one has a better texture. It seems like this one kind of does, but here they are both swatched out. So, I don't know. One of these, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by his tail. All right, this one it is. So here we go. Now, next up, I'm going to go ahead and take this guy and put this in my palette. This is that like light tan color that's slightly deeper. For me, it's deep enough to be like a good transition shade. Now, if I were actually collabing with ABH, I'm not quite sure I would put this in here because I recognize that this would not work for all skin tones. But since this is for me at home and my little collab just with myself, then I'm gonna steal this one and put it in my palette. I also feel like it's an obligation to take at least one of these browns and put it in my palette. I'm gonna go with this one because it feels so soft. This is from the Sultry palette, and on top of that, it's like kind of the most neutral seeming brown, so this one's gonna go in my palette. Okay, so the basic bee in me wants to take one of these guys and put it in my palette. I'm kind of leaning towards this one because I think it's a little more glittery, but let's swatch them out again and see. What do we think? They're so similar, it almost doesn't matter. I am gonna go with this one because when I'm looking at it in person, I can see like a little bit more of a sparkle than this one, which seems like just a straight up metallic. Next, I wanna take this really pretty, like deep, I don't know, blue-green color. and put that in my palette. I think that'd be great to deepen up some colorful looks, and I love it. Oh, so good, from the Subculture palette. You know, part of me really wants to take this really pretty duochrome color from the Subculture palette and put it in my collab palette. It's a white that shifts pink, but I'm honestly thinking that it might be a little too similar to that other pink I have because it's kind of a light pink as well. So here's that one, and here's this one. And you can see this one is duochrome, this one is just like a regular standard shimmer, but it flashes a really similar color. So I think I'm just gonna keep this one, even though I do love this color a whole lot. I am, however, definitely going to take this shimmer purple. It's a little bit sheer, but it's a really pretty color. It's not like quite the sparkliest thing in the world, but you know, it's nice, and I love a good purple in a palette, especially with my blue eyes. So putting this in my palette. So last but not least, I feel like I need more shimmers in my life, and this blue is really calling to me. So I think I'm gonna take this as my last one. We'll start to organize it, see how it looks, and then maybe come back, but this one has my heart right now. Okay, so I know this Z palette is a little dirty. This is like glue from, you know, depotted eyeshadow stuck to the bottom, so ignore that. But this is my palette, my collab with ABH, and I have to say, I kind of love it. Now, when I was laying out the shades in order, something I always really appreciated about ABH is the fact that their palettes, you can view them as like little quads. And so I tried to do something similar with mine. I think that all of these could be, you know, kind of cute quads. And I also think that by row, they look like they could be, you know, an interesting combination. And then also if you like split the row in half, you've got like these yellows and then the blue and green, which is almost giving me like a Natasha Denona gold palette vibes. And then down here, you've got like a little cute camo, like girly moment. Then you've got these for like a neutral with a pop of pink. And then you've got these for like a more dramatic, like evening look. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. I love it. I can't wait to use it for the next few weeks. And I'll go ahead and swatch all of these out for you. So again, this is a shade that comes from the Subculture palette. Oh my gosh. This one comes from the Riviera palette. This one also comes from the Riviera palette. This next one comes from the Subculture palette. And then after that, ooh, let me do another dip of that. Really build that up. After that is yet another one from the Riviera palette, which it's seeming like, when I first got it, I didn't really like it, but I seem to have picked a lot of colors from it. Next is the purple shade from the Norvina palette. And then last is the silver shade from the Sultry palette. So this is that top row. Now from the bottom row, we've got the this green shade from the Subculture palette. Then we also have this like champagne shade from the Norvina palette. Next, we've got this peach, which is, I think, from the Riviera palette, but I honestly don't know because this one is so similar to another one, but I'm pretty sure it's from the Riviera palette. Then next, we have one of the ambiguous browns. I'm pretty sure this is the one from the Sultry palette. After that, we've got this, you know, kind of nice bronzy shade. This one's also from Sultry. And then to round it off, our last two are the pink shade from the Norvina palette and this tan shade from what I believe is the Sultry palette. Okay, so if I tilt my arm just right, you can kind of see them all in frame. So here's my palette. So what I'm going to do now is take all of these beautiful shades on my arm and try to put them on my eyes. I'm going to try to do 2 different eye looks, and then I'll come back and show you, although for you, you'll have already seen this because it was in the intro of the video. Also, look at how sparkly and kind of gross my fingers are. Oh my gosh. So stained from the blue. I just did my 2 different eye looks. You'll have to let me know, which one do you like better? This side, which is a little more neutral and green, or this side, which is a little more like colorful, I guess. So let me go ahead and show you which shades I used for both looks. So I don't want to blind you, but okay, hopefully you can see this. So on my left eye, this one with like the more green, we've got this shade all over the lid, this one in the crease, this one in the outer corner, with this one as like kind of a DIY wing, and then this one as a transition shade. And then on this eye, the more colorful eye, we have this coral in the crease with this blue on the outer corner with a little bit of this blue on top just to give it like a little bit of shimmer. Then this purple fading into the blue, then the yellow over most of the lid, and this pink in the inner corner and on the brow bone. And I forgot to say, on the other side, this color is the one that's on my inner corner and my brow bone. So I got to use quite a few shades. I think really the only ones I didn't use at all were the silver, the taupe, and I think that's it. So I'm pretty happy with how many different shades I was able to use. I created some dramatic looks. I tried to give them like the same shape at least so it didn't look too funky, but I think that there's a lot I can continue to do with this palette, and I'm really excited to continue playing with it. But moral of the story is mainstream eyeshadow palettes have a lot of repetitions. Even with the other ABH, singles that I have, I could dupe a lot of this palette with a whole different palette based on just the shades that I have from their 5 previous palettes. So I am done buying eyeshadow palettes. Maybe I'll buy a quad if I think it's something that I can travel with really easily, but for the most part, I'm kind of done. Instead, I'm really focusing on only getting single shadows that I think add something different to my collection in some way, and that I know are colors that I will use often and enjoy. There are a lot of indie brands out there doing amazing things and really killing the eyeshadow game. I have recently gotten into Terra Moons, JD Glow, Copacetic Cosmetics, Pretties for Your Face, oh gosh, a million others, and there are more that I even want to get into but haven't had the opportunity to yet. So I'm hoping to do a swatch party sometime soon to highlight some of these different indie brands that don't get as much love. And instead of focusing on these mainstream brands, I'm going to try to give some indie brands a little bit more love. So yeah, that's kind of it. I hope you enjoyed me deconstructing my ABH palettes, showing the similarities, and then building my own. If you want to see something similar with other mainstream brands, I have a lot of ColourPop. I have a bit of Juvia's Place, or I could just show all of my mainstream depotted eyeshadows and we could build a palette together from that. So I hope that you enjoyed this type of video. If you did, please give this a like. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I am now on my summer break from classes, and so I'll have a little bit more time, and I'm hoping to upload more regularly. And so if you don't want to miss out, join my little squad. And until the next one, stay safe and stay healthy and stay happy, and I'll see you later. Bye.